Twitch, Artemu the Violet Wizard here, and today we are continuing Pokémon Emerald. Last time we got started on checking out the battle frontier, just looking around to see what new things we could discover there, what new Pokémon to catch, and just getting a good feel for the area. This time we are not heading back to battle frontier because I have something different in mind. First off, there is one new thing at the Hoenn region that I had not shown off in previous stream sessions that I want to take care of right away. And if we go back into the Pokemon fan club after becoming champion... Oh wow, it's Haley! I've heard the news! You're really strong, aren't you? We always argue about who's the strongest of all trainers here. So when I heard about you, I decided to be your fan. I hope you'll keep on battling other tough trainers. That way we'll be able to see more of your hot battles. That'll make the others here see exactly how great you are. Remember, I'm cheering for you, Haley. Looks like someone's shy. Haley, you're the one we want to win. Oh, Haley, go for it. I'm pulling for you. Oh, wow, it's Haley. For real, too. Please, shake my hand, shake my hand. Steven's so wickedly cool. I want to shake hands with my hero. Norman battled with more power, charisma, and showmanship than you. Even though people may say that you're strong, you still got a long way to go compared to your father. Oh, really? Among the recently hot trainers, Glacia's the standout. That toughness is simply not normal. You're doing okay, but you're not in the same class as Glacia. Really? The woman who uses 2 Celio and 2 Glalie is on a better level than me. You're a pretty decent trainer, I think. I also think that Wallace is number 1 right now. That's just my opinion, don't worry about it too much. I gotta say, Wallace is pretty cool. Yes, I see strength in your eyes, but you still haven't realized your potential. I mean, eventually, further down the line, we might get there, but yeah, it's a nice little thing that they added during the post-game. I feel like it helps add a lot of character to the world. Didn't really want to show the team right there, but yeah, kind of a hint about things that are going on here. We are finally going to get the payoff to something that I've been hyping up for quite some time. So in this particular task we are going to be undertaking tonight, there are some things that you want prepared. Namely, you're going to want Pokemon that know the move Dive and Dig. And also, you're going to need to have 2 specific Pokemon on your team. You need to have a Wailord and a Relicanth. Relicanth can be got very rarely in the seaweed while diving, while Wailord is the evolution of Wailmer, which is a fairly common ocean fishing Pokemon. And now, it is time for us to head back to Route 132 in order to go to a place that I have been hyping up a little bit in some earlier sessions of this playthrough. Quite a few reasons. It's very interesting to finally get started on this after all this time. Yeah. So the road ahead, you want to be very careful here, making your way through the current, because there is one specific section of this ocean that you'll want to be aiming for. Hopefully I can get here on the first try, because, that might have screwed me. That might have screwed me. Let's see here, because... Oh, we might actually be good, yeah. And I think we want to be about here. Yep. You want to head to this dive spot right in the middle of the ocean. And of course we need a Pokemon with dive for that. Really should have taken care of this before we started this session. But it's okay. For the record, when I said we need a Pokemon that knows the move Dig, that is why I brought Hockey back into the team after all this time. Seems very fitting that we would be using our little item collector / HM user this late into the adventure for something that's just very, very important. And hey, she gets to see a bit more use, and that's always good. Now down here is the specific cavern that you can only access by diving in that one spot. And over here, we have some Braille writing. So remember, well, this is gonna be a bit of a deep cut here, but ages ago I had a Pokemon Leaf Green stream, and similar to this game, that game also features sections where I have to follow clues written in Braille. Basically, the message here is telling us to go up. We surface here, we find ourselves in a completely new area. And see here, we got a lot of Braille writing on these stone columns here. This is basically a quick summary of the Braille alphabet, all in order, so you have an idea on how to actually solve the puzzles here in-game. And that message there is telling us to use dig. I know what it looks like here, but definitely use dig. And that opens the path there. And in here, this is basically telling you your clue about the position of Wailord and Relicanth in your party. I don't know why specifically these two Pokemon, I mean, I do kind of get it, but it's still like a very obscure thing. It sounds as if a door opened somewhere far away. So back in Pacific-Log Town, we got a hint from a NPC that 6 dots would open 3 doors. The 6 dots he's referring to are the 4 dots on Wailord's back and the 2 dots on Relicanth's sides. And yeah, I have no idea how you were supposed to figure that out normally. And also we heard from a very similar NPC about there being a Pokemon representing the elements of rock, ice, and steel hidden somewhere where we couldn't normally reach. This is what all this has been building up to, and why I was recommending getting a Wailord and a Relicanth throughout this adventure. And also why I named these things something so dumb. So there are now 3 locations on this map that have now opened up to us and we're able to investigate now that we have done all this. So let's go put these guys away because we don't really need them anymore. Well, specifically we don't need Wailord and Relicanth anymore because Pocky will still be useful for something very soon. Make sure our moveset is right for this. Yeah. Thinking ahead, what do I want for this? It might be a good idea to switch Shanty out. I don't think you're going to be too useful in this encounter. Also, I highly recommend getting a lot of Pokeballs. Might actually be a good idea to grab more Ultra Balls, but I think I'm good with everything, considering. At the very least, I should grab some Great Balls here. Of course, you should have ready access to all of these items by this point, so you should be more than good for the path ahead. It's actually something you can get done before becoming champion, but I basically want to save this to post-game because we would be much better equipped for the trials ahead with this, because it can be a little tricky. Why do I have Pocky in the front here? That's not a good idea. So think about what we're going up against. Probably might be a better bet here. Nah, we should be fine with Beetlejuice, and we'll just gauge how things go from the start, cause yeah, this will be interesting at least. So our first destination here out of the 3 points of interest is going to be Route 111. And depending on how things go, we might actually be here for the remainder of this session. Again, depending on how things go. I'm going to try to shoot for 2 hours in this stream session, but depending on how things go, we might have to go overtime or call things early. We'll just have to see, because, yeah, this will be definitely going to be interesting. So this rock formation did not have a cave entrance the last time we were here. By doing all that stuff in this sealed cave chamber, we now have access to the desert ruins. This. Okay, just kind of remembering what the directions are here. I think I got this. So we'll take 2 steps down, 2 steps left, and then we're gonna have one of our Pokemon use Rock Smash. And by doing that, the pathway opens up. Again, you got even more Braille messages here telling you what to do. Highly recommend saving here. So we only got 1 shot at this bad boy. Meet Regirock, one of 3 elemental titans introduced in Generation 3. I know more of these guys appear in other games, but never mind about that, because we're still sticking with Gen 3 here. Regirock, as you would guess, is a legendary Pokemon. One of the lower tier legendaries, but still fairly good. This thing is pure rock type, and it has a huge amount of defense. This thing is a tank. It will take hits very well. It also has some interesting level up moves that can make this an interesting fight, all things considered. Superpower there is a very rare move, not usually seen on most Pokemon. It does very good damage, but it has the drawback of lowering the attack and defense of the user. So it's kind of like Overheat that we saw much earlier on, where it's a very powerful move that has negative consequences for the user. It's very good that we have Beetlejuice out front, because he's able to just absorb those superpowers so we don't have to deal with that. So Regirock and the other legendary Pokemon we'll be going at in these sessions is interesting because the first move in its moveset, believe it or not, is Explosion, which is a kamikaze. Which is really odd considering that none of the other moves in its moveset are even close to that. This thing does have Curse, which can help deal with the superpower debuffs, helping raise its attack and defense again at the expense of speed, but it's not like Regirock is really going to be outspeeding things, because it does have pretty low speed. Oh, I actually thought I might have had it there. That would have been like the fastest legendary capture I would have had in all of these stream sessions. Easily. I mean, there was the time I caught Sweet Hoenn in a Master Ball, but that doesn't count. So yeah, my rule for legendary Pokemon during these sessions is that I am going to be catching these things the legit way, which means the Master Balls are staying inside of my bag. Unless I encounter a specific version of the legendaries, but I have a feeling I'm not going to worry about that anytime soon. Yeah, besides that, this Regirock isn't too bad. It does buff itself up with Curse, which will boost the power of its Rock Throw and Superpower, obviously. Besides that, this thing isn't too bad. As long as you have good Pokemon that resist its moves, you should be able to take this thing's attacks very easily. Oh, right, it also has Ancient Power, which can also raise all of its stats. A bit annoying, but we should still be good here. It's just kind of awkward here, because there's really not much else I can really say about this guy. And now... Oh, that was so close! It would have been so cool if I caught him right there. Ugh. It's alright. Beetlejuice, you did a good job absorbing hits for us. We should be more than equipped for this guy right now. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up Sandstorm to take advantage of Harlequin's Sand Veil ability. Since Regirock is a rock type, he won't be taking damage from the Sandstorm, so it's just a good way of mainly benefiting me here. Make us a bit more evasive so that we can just absorb more of his attacks. Another thing I will say about this guy is that his moves definitely have very low PP, so prepare to start resetting once he starts struggling. Besides that, at this point, you really shouldn't have that much trouble with this guy. He is tanky, but if you're going at him at this point after becoming champion, your level should definitely be enough to take this guy's attacks. So while we're going at this guy, how about we talk about the specific group of Pokemon that we're going after in this session and probably other sessions of the future. So in this generation, Regirock is part of a trio of legendary Pokemon. In Generation 4, they add a fourth member to the trio, who's kind of like the quote-unquote master of this particular group of Pokemon, especially in terms of stats and whatnot. And then most recently in Generation 8, for the Crown Tundra DLC, they added a new questline involving these specific Pokemon where you had to catch them all in order to unlock access to one of two new Pokemon that also relate into this particular group. Like, of course, throughout the series you have these groups of legendary Pokemon that are all relate to each other in these different ways, but usually not within different generations where they add new members of a certain legendary grouping to give them more members. And I think it's a really neat idea, especially with the concept of these guys, because what's known as the Regi legendaries, or the Legendary Titans, these guys are artificial Pokemon, but they weren't created by humans. No, they were created by another Pokemon, and they basically serve as that Pokemon's protectors / guardians / power limiters, which is a very interesting concept of linking all of these Pokemon together like that. Especially in the newer generations, because, oh man, really like the new additions to these particular legendary Pokemon they made in the Crown Tundra. Not only are their designs very cool and striking, while still feeling like a part of this trio, but they got some wicked stat spreads. Like, one of them is like the new fastest Pokemon, and it just really has me really excited to actually use these guys, because I did manage to catch them for my Shield Pokedex and to fill out my home dex. And that was an interesting trial to go through. Definitely better than this, because they definitely made catching legendary Pokemon a lot easier in the more recent generations. And where they tend to give the legendary Pokemon much higher catch rates, so that it's still a challenge to get them, but nowhere near like in the old days, where you almost always have to reset because you just waste so many balls, and then the enemy struggles themselves to death. So you have to repeat the cycle a few more times. Another thing I could say about these guys is that for their main ability, you're not going to be able to lower these guys' stats with your own Pokemon. So that's a thing. You know, it's all fine and good. So ourselves a bit of an endurance test here, just weathering this guy's attacks and just chucking as many balls as we can at him. Luckily, Armstrong has the defense to take this thing's hits, even if its attack is as high as it is, thanks to Curse. And it's a good thing that we also managed to absorb all its superpowers, because, yeah, that would have done a lot of damage to Armstrong, being a Rock-Steel type. Some other... I just threw a dive ball at him by accident. That's... Oh man, if I actually caught him in the dive ball there, that would have been funny. I guess we'll move on to the next best one. I'll probably save the timer balls for a little bit later, because timer balls are very good for dealing with legendaries, since they gain a higher catch rate the longer the battle goes. So as long as I save those for later, we should be very good against this guy. And it'll be interesting to see how these legendary catching streams go in the future, because, yeah, it just usually takes a while, and it can get a little monotonous at points. Right now, we're in a good position. As low health, it's paralyzed thanks to Alexa's static ability, which I should probably actually reteach Alexa Thunder Wave, because that's a very good move for dealing with these guys. Yeah, we don't have... This is going to be interesting, I will say that. Some other stuff to talk about. Still working right now, even throughout this whole thing. And things in my job are still going well. We're still maintaining a good environment, even after everything that's been going on, and just making sure everyone gets everything they need at this time, which... Yes, it's stressful, but just being able to help people out at this point in time is just a very good feeling for me. And plus, it also gets me out of the house, which, thank goodness for that. Up there, he's struggling now. So now would actually be a good time to go for the timer ball. If this doesn't work, we'll just have to reset this session. You know, timer ball kind of looks like a Canadian flag. And thank goodness for that paralysis. That gives me an extra turn to throw a Great Ball. It's also a good way to gauge for me how many Ultra Balls I'm gonna need in future. Oh, that would have been so... That would have been so good if I caught him there. But yeah, those guys got taken out. Nothing for you to do, but just reset. That's another thing I really like about Crown Tundra, is that when you're going after these guys, even if you make the legendary Pokemon faint, and you can immediately refight them, which is just such a blessing. I'm glad that they just really, what am I saying? They really, they help make the process of catching these guys better is what I'm trying to get at here. I know some people could say that's cheap, that they're making things a lot easier in newer games, but come on, this is like one of the most boring aspects of trying to capture Pokemon, just throwing the balls and hoping it works. Like, come on. I know it's all about the thrill of the eventual capture, but... I got him on the first Ultra Ball I threw. Okay! Regirock, the Rock Peak Pokemon. A Pokemon that's made entirely of rocks and boulders. If parts of its body chip off in battle, Regirock repairs itself by adding new rocks. And I'm going to name you, buddy. About Lithodeus. So that went pretty well. Managed to get the first of these guys very surprisingly easy. Not even a half an hour down this session, I already got the first one of these guys. Really goes to this just continuing like my recurring thing throughout these stream sessions, where I have a much better luck at catching the legendary Pokemon than I do when I'm not recording anything. Just, man. Yeah, we got that guy down, and we've still got a few more of these guys to deal with. And, those guys. I guess I could fight them in a later session. I guess while we're just getting prepared for the next round over here at Trainer Hill, I guess I could talk a bit about some things that I've actually been considering for the for future Battle Frontier streams, because I know for a fact that my team isn't really competitively viable or going to be that amazing at dealing with some of the battles that we'll be having there, and I'm fully well aware of admitting that fact, so I was actually kind of curious about maybe raising up some of the Pokemon we caught or obtained in the while ago, like our Bagon or a Beldum. Just having these very strong Pokemon that we wouldn't normally have a reason to use during the playthrough, but getting to raise them up and actually use them for the post-game challenges. I don't know, I feel like that would be an interesting thing to do. So for this, I definitely want to switch Harlequin out. Not going to be doing well in the next round. No, we'll just leave you there for now. Yeah, let's check out this new Regirock we got here. He's jolly. That's an okay nature for this guy. But yeah, as you can see there, he has a ton of defense. If you're looking for a very tanky Pokemon that can even help you out, in the Battle Frontier, Regirock can definitely be a good choice. And of course, a lot of his moves are physical, which take advantage of his superior offensive stat. Yeah, he's pretty decent overall. Like, he's not on par with Rayquaza in terms of legendary Pokemon stats, but still overall a good Pokemon. Alright, switch the team around here, and then we're gonna go buy some more Pokeballs, just so that we are more prepared for what's ahead. I got a taste for how things will go during this stream session with Regirock, and I feel like that would be a good... What am I trying to say here? Now that I have an idea on how these catching sessions are going to go thanks to fighting Regirock, I have a good idea on what I need for the remainder of these challenges. So now let's buy a few more Ultra Balls. Should be more than equipped for that now. You can go at the bottom, you two. I'm still... cannot believe that I managed to get 2 Master Balls in this playthrough. Like, goddamn lottery. It's easily the most lucky thing I managed to accomplish during this stream session. I mean, during all these streams, but... oh no, there's still that one particular thing involving Pokemon, and that revolves around getting Pokemon that we haven't achieved yet, but something that I would really like. And we'll just see how things go. So, the next one of these legendary Pokemon we're going after is gonna be south from Petalburg, out on Route 105. Obviously, this was an area that I went to much earlier on in the adventure and pointed out that we will be returning here at some point. And lo and behold, this is what this was for, obviously. I mean, it's a good thing that the game goes out of its way of constructing these rock formations so that they're obviously distinct enough in appearance and layout that it gets you thinking that there's going to be something here in the near future. And lo and behold, we got another challenge here. So the Island Cave... let's just take a little stroll through this room. Just kind of taking in the sights. Yes, it's very nice, and look at that! Just walking around was able to unlock the door. Believe it or not, this puzzle is even easier in Ruby and Sapphire. Because, yeah, the puzzles are slightly different in Ruby and Sapphire than they are in Emerald. Specifically in those games, all you have to do is wait there for about a minute, and the door will open. Funnily enough, I actually spent so much time trying to translate that message that I actually managed to trigger to open without even realizing it, and yeah, that was funny. Okay, we should be good here. Considering how things went with Regirock, I'm curious to see how things go with this guy. Welcome to the Pokemon world's largest ice pop, Regice, or Regice, or Regice, however you want to call this thing. This thing is the special counterpart to Regirock. Instead of having high attack and especially high defense, this thing is all special attack and special defense. As you would expect from an Ice-type Pokemon, obviously. But what's not really the best thing about this thing is that, yeah, it's a tank because of the way its stats are distributed, but Ice is one of the worst defensive types in the game. It has a lot of weaknesses, especially to common types like Rock and Fighting and Fire. And the only type that Ice resists is Ice. So yeah, Regice really isn't doing too hot in the defense department. I mean, it's still a very solid Pokemon. This thing obviously has Curse, so it's able to mitigate its lower physical defense to make it even tankier in that department. But yeah, it's just a little awkward. Even still, this thing is pretty good both offensively and defensively, despite those hiccups with it. I'd say it's a little more awkward to use than Regirock, but still overall a decent Pokemon that I could see you getting some use out of even in Battle Frontier. Also, I really haven't brought it up at this point, but I love the music that plays when you are fighting these Pokemon. Like, this specific song is usually referred to as just the Reggie Trio theme, although it's not really a trio at this point anymore. But yeah, it's a great song. It gets remixed a bunch throughout the series whenever these guys appear in future games, and yeah, just a good time. I really love the instrumentals to it, and it really makes use of the Hoenn region's very infamous horns through it. Just kind of emphasizes like both the mystique and just the power that these Titans possess. Definitely makes them seem like more of a threat than they actually are, but you know, that's just the way things are in Pokemon. It's a great song that complements these Pokemon very nicely. So I'll be dealing with Regice with some other things to discuss. I've been getting a lot back into Animal Crossing New Horizons lately, because we got a couple of updates that have added some good stuff, namely some new hairstyles and emotes in the game. But another thing that I'm really excited for is that we finally have expanded storage space, which I tend to be a hoarder when it comes to those kind of games where you're collecting resources, and I accumulated a huge amount of resources, and it filled up my storage by a lot. So I actually managed to reach the point where I had to like go into my inventory, figure out, okay, what can I afford to part with? Which of these resources am I just going to melt down into new furniture so I can sell it? But yeah, I'm glad I have the expanded storage now, because it's definitely going to be good for my future stuff, because yeah, I hoard a lot of furniture, a lot of clothing, a lot of resources, and of course fish and bugs, because I do need them for the models. Alright, that's what I was looking for. I brought Alexa in hoping that I could paralyze this Regice while it still had superpower, and that worked out pretty well. And obviously Regice, in terms of strategies when facing this thing, it has the exact same moves as Regirock does, except that it replaces Rock Throw with Icy Wind. All of these guys will have at least one move representing their type. Of course, in future games, they tend to shake things up by giving these guys a lot of different moves. Moves to definitely add a lot more strategy to the battles when it comes to dealing with these guys. Going back into Crown Tundra, a thing I really liked about that version is that in order to get to these legendary Pokemon, just like in this game, there is a puzzle you had to solve in order to access each one, but I feel like they were done very creatively. Like, there was one for equipping a certain item onto one of your the Pokemon in the lead. There's another one for having the first Pokemon in your party be a specific Pokemon relating to the legendary you're going after. And then the other one relates to a mechanic of the game that often goes overlooked by most people. And yeah, it was just a great way of bringing back another puzzle element from this generation into the future games. Just overall, you can expect to see some interesting stuff with these Pokemon, because when it comes to catching them, there's definitely some stuff you have to go for. I will say with these guys, when it comes to catching them, in Generation 5, in Black 2 and White 2, they can be interesting to go after, because getting to them requires having access to a certain thing that is both version exclusive, and it can only be handled on the title screen of the game. Not only that, but it's kind of a thing where you need both versions in order to get all of these Pokemon, because if you don't have both versions, then you obviously aren't going to have all the necessary resources to get these guys, which is a little awkward that they did that. But, you know, it's just kind of how things were with Black 2 and White 2. As well as with some other features that were locked behind specific things. Challenge mode! Okay, while we're dealing with this guy, what's another thing to discuss? So, obviously, there's been a game that's been really popular lately called Among Us. It just exploded in popularity the last couple of months, and for good reason. It's a very fun game. And I've actually had the opportunity to play this game with a lot of my friends on the Maryland Discord server, and it's just been a good time with us. We've been really enjoying all the mind games of it that it involves, while trying to do our tasks, while avoiding getting loitered and trying to figure out who the killer is. It's all good. Honestly, between the different playstyles, I kind of prefer being the crewmate as opposed to the imposter. Because as the crewmate, even if you die, you can still accomplish all of your tasks in order to help your fellow crewmates complete your objective and try to beat the imposter. Whereas as the imposter, once you get found out, that's it. Game over. And with that, it's just, for me personally, it just adds so much pressure to me when I am imposter compared to being the crewmate, because there is that thing where, oh, even if I die, I'll still be able to get my tasks done. And also have the enjoyment of watching the other players just try to figure out, oh, who the killer is, while I'm just sitting there going, oh, you poor naive fools. But yeah, imposter is an interesting playstyle, not really my cup of tea, especially because I am not the very best liar. I mean, I did have one very good round where I was able to I actually managed to bluff my way into a very solid win, which I was so dang proud of when I actually managed to pull it off. But besides that, that's been my only real win as imposter, and I'm kind of sad about that. Who knows? I'm only really just getting into the game, so there's probably going to be more opportunities where I'll be able to get them. Okay, we're just about 15 minutes into trying to get this guy. It's definitely been a while. He's probably gonna run out of PowerPoints pretty soon. Let's look how my Pokeballs are doing right now. Oh, whoops. Now, we still look pretty good. But yeah, he's probably gonna run out of power points very soon. I guess another thing I could say about the Reggie trio is that I do like how the appearance of these guys actually relates to the Braille puzzles that you need to solve in order to access them, because the faces of these guys are dots, which is how Braille is read out. So yeah, I do really like how this all ties together like that. And they still do that in the Crown Tundra, obviously. I actually like how they do it, how you have to walk on the dots on the floor in order to activate the encounter with these guys. And they do an interesting take on that for, like, the last one of these guys you have to go after. The specific new members of the Reggie trio. I guess at this point I can say their names, especially because we're probably not gonna get the opportunity to actually show them on stream. Unless I'm able to get something to record Switch games with. But yeah, Reggie Eliki and Reggie Drago, they are very interesting additions to this trio. Reggie Drago being more offensive, while Reggie Eliki is just all speed. As I said before, it's like the new fastest Pokemon, and I'm really happy that one of the Reggies actually managed to gain that thing. So, all of the Reggies obviously specialize in different stat spreads and strategies, which is really cool. Obviously, these guys are more tanky, while future ones tend to be on the more offensive side. Especially with one of them, but yeah, it's just very cool how, as the generations go on, not only did they manage to expand on the lore of these guys by introducing new members, but tying things in to the older generations as well. Like, we're obviously not going to get to show this off in a stream session, but one of the cool things about doing this questline here in the 3rd generation is that you're able to transfer these guys into the 4th generation games, obviously. Okay. Seeing a little bit of stream stutter there, but things are relatively okay now. So you're able to transfer these guys to the 3rd generation, obviously. And by doing so, you're able to use these guys as the keys in order to unlock the ability to fight another legendary Pokemon that is tied into this trio. And that is just such a cool mechanic, having to bring in Pokemon from another game in order to access a very elusive legendary. It's a very cool idea that I'm glad they did in one of the earlier generations. There is one other thing lately that I've been wanting to talk about, but probably gonna save that until after this session with Regice is concluded, because either if we catch this guy or it struggles itself to death. Oh, there it goes. It's struggling. Okay, now seems like a good point to use our timer ball. Alright, can we get this guy? Nope. Oh, it's actually... You actually managed to hang in there because the damage it dealt to Beetlejuice was so low. Oh, that the recoil damage wasn't enough to kill it. Alright, let's go for Great Ball against this thing and just pray that we manage to get it. Maybe not. Nope. Alright, this is gonna kill. So I don't think I've actually gone over this in this playthrough, but Struggle is the typeless move that every Pokemon is able to use if the power points of all of their attacks reaches 0, just so they have a opportunity to damage their opponent. But obviously, Struggle causes recoil damage, which is a little annoying to deal with, but, you know, it's just the way things go. I mean, there are Pokemon that do benefit from being able to deal recoil damage, or just completely ignore that in the case of Armstrong. But obviously, that's not going to work when it comes to recoil from Struggle. There is no... Oh, man. Good work with that, Shanty. But yeah, there is no way to get rid of the recoil damage from Struggle, as far as I know. So I don't think Rockhead actually prevents that from working. Okay, we weren't as lucky as we are with Regirock. We actually have to try with this guy. Alright, Regice, I am perfectly fine with doing the rest of the stream session just chucking balls at your big, icy body. Speaking of which, it actually started snowing again pretty recently up here, but, you know, as far up in the northern hemisphere as I am, of course we're gonna get snow early in this season. Just something we have to deal with when we're up north like this. And you know, I'm perfectly fine with it. Oh, that was so close. Yeah, as a kid, I always did like winter. It's definitely one of my favorite times. Just because there's so much to do when you're winter. When you're outside, there's just so many activities you can do. You can go sledding, you can make snowmen, have snowball fights. Nice, you can go skating and stuff. And then you can stay inside, just warm yourself by the fire, drinking hot chocolate. It's just such a warm, cozy feeling. I know a lot of people have negative thoughts on winter and stuff, and I especially do when I have to leave for work and I have to wait at the bus stop for like half an hour waiting for this thing to arrive while I'm out in the snow, but yeah, it can still be a very beautiful time of year. So, while we're dealing with this Regice, there's been something that I've been meaning to discuss the last couple of whiles. So, there's been this game that I have kind of recently discovered, heard from a variety of different sources for a variety of different reasons, but the game in question is called Genshin Impact. And very recently I was actually watching some gameplay of it and thinking, you know, I could actually see Amy getting into this. I mean, sure, it's one of those games where it has gacha elements where you have to spend real money just to have a chance of getting a very good pulls when it comes to getting good equipment or characters to unlock, and I am definitely opposed to those kind of gaming practices, especially when it and the grind for those games gets so bad that it actually becomes mandatory to have to spend additional funds in order to do things. But in the case of Genshin, I feel like it's fine, because the game is totally free, and you're able to go into it without abusing the gacha system at all. As far as I know, I don't know how bad the grind will get in this game, but yeah, I haven't spent any money with it. Yeah, spoilers, I've actually downloaded the game and have been playing it for quite a bit this afternoon. And it's pretty fun, all things considered. Like, it reminds me a lot of other games that I really love, like Breath of the Wild and Xenoblade in a lot of aspects, but obviously with a much more cel-shaded, stylized art style. And yeah, it's just a good time. I really like the character designs, the way the open world is structured. For now is good, because you can basically go wherever you want and deal with the enemies at your own pace, and It's very cool, the mechanics in the game. Unlike a traditional kind of action RPG where you have your allies supporting you in the battle, it's a kind of game where only the character that you're controlling is the character that takes action in battle. All of your other guys are just kind of in reserves, waiting for their chance to shine. I was really hoping I caught him that time. But yeah, it's actually interesting the way this works, and I kind of like it this way because the game has a mechanic where if you affect an enemy with a certain element and they relate to that element in a certain way, you're able to deal bonus damage to it. So, for example, if you're fighting a fire enemy and you use a water attack, obviously the water will have a negative impact on the fire enemy. And by hitting an enemy with a water attack, they also gain a status that leaves them more susceptible to ice attacks. So, kind of by switching out characters whenever you get a certain effect on the enemy to take advantage of those elemental bonuses, you can deal some insane stuff. And it's interesting how the gameplay ties in all of that together with the action-oriented combat, trying to chain all these different elemental effects. It's a very neat gameplay style. And of course, you have an interesting cast of characters who all relate to these elements as well. Because when you start out, your avatar very quickly gains the wind element, and then your second party member is a fire element, and they relate together pretty interesting. I guess something else I could say about the whole gacha thing is that the mechanic that they use for doing the gacha is specifically called Wish, and it's just kind of interesting in having it named like that, because you're basically wishing to try to get a good haul of items, equipment, party members, etc. And I feel like naming it like that is a very cool way of doing that mechanic. And what's also nice, obviously, is that when you get first introduced to the wish mechanic, they actually give you more than enough resources to get at least 10 pulls from the wishes. So you're able to very quickly get a good assortment of weapons that will obviously be stronger than what you currently have, and you're guaranteed to get at least one new player character with you. And I was actually lucky on my first pull. I managed to get 2 party members on my first draw of the wishes, so I was very glad for that. And they're pretty interesting. I definitely want to use them more, because they definitely have different playstyles compared to my first 2 party members, which tend to deal a lot more fast damage, while the new party members I got from Wish, they tend to focus more on heavy attacks, so they're a lot slower, have more defensive playstyles, but they do a lot of damage. And I'm quite happy with that. But yeah, it's also just very fun to get to try new things, especially when we're under a situation like this whole quarantine stuff, and just doing our best to survive and putting ourselves in a good mood throughout all this. And yeah, getting to try out Genshin is obviously a very fun thing for me. As I said, I can relate to the game a lot because it has a lot of things that I like from other games that I have played, especially ones on the Switch, obviously. And I like the open world, I like the character designs, obviously. And the game also seems to have quite a bit of lore to it, because you can find books throughout the world that add to your inventory's archive, so you can kind of go over them and learn more about the world and how things function in it whenever you want, which is pretty cool. Definitely be checking that out sometime. Reminds me a lot about the books you find in the Elder Scrolls games that tells you about all the mythology and stories place with the world of Cyrodiil. Actually, I don't think Cyrodiil is the right name to use there, because I'm pretty sure Cyrodiil is only like a province on the main Elder Scrolls planet. I don't know, I've only played 2 Elder Scrolls games, which was Oblivion and Skyrim. So yeah, I don't really have that much knowledge on the series outside of those games. They are good. Definitely got a lot of mileage out of those games. And for the different stories and worlds that they introduce and stuff. Definitely very interesting. And of course, it's just very fun to like compare the different styles between Western and Japanese RPGs, because they do have a lot of similarities in a lot of ways, but man, do they differ in a lot of ways too. But hey, it's good to experiment and try new things, you know? So, buddy, we are coming down to the wire here. Are you finally going to get caught? I don't know how much farther this could go. Like, it'd be awesome if I could get all 3 of these guys within the 2-hour limit I tend to impose on myself for my stream sessions. But I really don't have a good indication on how these will go. Pretty much all I can do is just throw the balls and pray that I get something good. Kind of like playing a gacha game. With that said, after the stream session is done, I am considering going back to playing some more Genshin, because, yeah, I'm still very early on into the game, only like, I'd say 2 hours in, but it's definitely got me hooked. I love the gameplay, love the worlds and characters. One of the characters definitely more than the others. It's like the main reason I'm getting into Genshin at all is because of some fan art I've seen of one of the main characters in the game. And you actually get to see him very early on. And he's really cute, damn it. I really can't wait to get to the point where he's in my party, because I'm never gonna let him leave the party because he's the best. I'm actually working on fan art of him sometime, so I'm hoping to get that done very soon this week. And yep, that obviously will be available on my DeviantArt account fairly soon. Probably also going to post it to my Twitter, obviously. You can see all the links down there in the lower right corner. And then later on this week, we're going to be doing some more Sonic Mania sessions. Yeah, definitely got some plans for the near future. Not really like major life-changing ones, but you know, I'm just hanging in there, given everything that the world is dealing with right now. Like, all we can really hope for right now is that they finally manage to not only complete a vaccine, but also get it distributed within a good amount and in a good time, so that hopefully things can start improving, because this rate, just don't know how things are going to be for like the next 2 to 3 years. I don't know. I really wish that things were different in our lives right now, and we could be a lot more positive, a lot more focused on doing some stuff, because this year I was planning on trying to get my driver's license, but just frickin' Corona had to completely derail that plan. I don't know, man, just we gotta do our best to make the future a better world than the one that we are currently living in. In terms of other stuff going on lately, now that I finished up BoJack Horseman, I have been trying to get back into watching Pokemon Sun and Moon, and also working on Close Enough, which is the show done by the regular show creator. And I don't know what other stuff I'm going to be trying to watch sometime in the future. Oh, could this be it? Ah, oh, I almost got him in the Canadian ball. And he's struggling. Alright, looks like this session is coming to a close soon. Alright, Beetlejuice, you will take one more hit before this all ends. Yeah, there's really not much else we can do here. We'll try a dive ball. It kind of matches this guy's color scheme. And managed to shake once. I'll take that as a victory. Yeah, Regice's gonna take a little while. It's alright, I have all the time tonight to go after this guy. So we still got about 55 minutes. Hang on, cause... Okay, I saw there that that was definitely not a good thing that popped into the chat there. Nice try, but I am not interested in what you're selling there, buddy. Alright, Regice, take free. I really don't know what else I'm gonna talk about. Like, spent a good amount of time just talking about what I really liked about this game that I just started playing. I'm gonna be playing more of after this session, but just don't know what is gonna go down. I feel like now would be a good chance to switch over to Alexa to see if we can paralyze this thing earlier in this fight. Come on, buddy, could you please land a... Definitely don't want to attack it right now. Yeah, it's just kind of how things are gonna go here. Pretty much exhausted everything I wanted to talk about in today's session, too. I guess one other thing I could talk about is, you guys know about VTubers, right? Well, there's some specific VTubers that I have been following recently, because, let me tell you, there are some very funny women, like, the stuff they do and the conversations they have are definitely interesting, and I can actually get really invested into them, especially because they help me feel validated about certain ways that I feel, okay? Especially when it comes to certain media and stuff. doing a... Well, there's specifically 3 of them that do, like, a podcast, like, every week. Project Melody, Iron Mouse, and Silver Veil. Well, they have their little podcast called the Lewdcast, and... Oh, I almost got you there, Reg Ice. I almost got you. So yeah, they do their little podcast like once a week, and they're actually very fun to tune into, especially with the conversations they get into. Just like talking about various stuff that goes on in like being a VTuber, and also just kind of the anime that they've been watching recently. Almost got you there. Come on. You're paralyzed, dude. You have low health. You must get captured. And yeah, the podcasts they do, they are just very fun to tune into, especially when I'm doing other stuff, like playing Animal Crossing or grinding in my RPGs and stuff. As one of their more recent sessions, they had Takahata 101 from Team 4-Star. They're joining their podcast for an episode, and it was so fun getting to hear them interacting with these girls. Got him! It took us just over an hour, but we managed to get 2 of these guys. Its entire body is made of Antarctic ice. After extensive studies, researchers believe the ice was formed during an ice age. Very interesting. And of course I want to give you a name, buddy. You will be Cryodeus. And thankfully we don't have to deal with Gen 2's horrible box mechanics here. Screw you, Gold. And he automatically gets transferred to box 2. Woo! Seriously, that's definitely something from the older games that I am glad we didn't go back to. Like, you people can go on and on about how things were so much better back in the old days of the frickin' Pokemon on Red and Gold and all that stuff. But dang it, things got better, and are still better. So anyway, let's go catch another legendary Pokemon. We got like another 45 minutes before I close things off in this session. Let's go heal up the team and get prepared for the next one. This guy might actually want to swap out one of my Pokemon, considering what we are gonna be up against soon. But let's look at Cryodeus here. Docile. That is one of the neutral natures, I feel. Yeah, as you can see there, very high special defense and high special attack. That's what you're going for when it comes to Regice. What moves do you have, Dottie? I see. And what do you got, Pocky? I want to think carefully about... Actually, yeah, this team is fine for going up against the last one. So I believe... So going forward, I want to head back to my TM pocket, and we are going to... We're going to give strength to... Oh yeah, you can't learn that, because you are just a Zigzagoon. Okay, who do I have that has strength? Because I'm pretty sure that... Endive, I taught you strength, right? No. Okay, who did I teach strength to? I mean, I know for a fact that I used to have it on... Yeah, I know for a fact that I used to have strength on on Armstrong. Yeah, this one just kind of... Don't know if I got it on anyone else. wasn't this just a fine little reintroduction of all these Pokemon we've obtained? I guess I'll just have to teach strength to someone. Also, Pocky, thank you for joining us. But I feel like Banan will be the Pokemon we get these moves to. Also, a nice thing about you is that, as I said previously, Tropius is a fantastic Pokemon to teach the various HMs to. If you're looking for a good Pokemon to use as an HM servant, not going to use another one of those terms. It's definitely good for it. You can teach it Cut, Fly, Strength, Rock Smash. It's all good. Nope, I'm gonna get rid of all your stab moves. I mean, I replaced it with another stab move, but you know what I'm talking about here. Alright, how many balls are we gonna need for this? Cause that session actually went pretty short. Alright, let's refill our ball supply here. Also, nice to show here, even after winning the grand prize, you're still able to pull lotto tickets. Okay, I know for a fact that is not a winning ticket, but maybe we could have gotten something from this? I'm sorry, none of the numbers match. Shit. Alright, which one of you has Pokeballs? Not you. There we go. Buy a few more Ultra Balls, and then we're good. Alright, well, this is interesting. We had a relatively good time with Regirock. Regice took us a few tries, but we managed to get it. So the last one of these guys is going to be fairly interesting. I know this is probably going to be the one that pushes us into overtime, all things considered. And we'll just have to see how things go with this guy. Because we are just about done this quest line. Hey, going through all these areas, there's a chance that we could run into something else that I've been meaning to talk about. But that, like, depends on if it actually happens. It's a very rare chance of it happening out here. Definitely in between these stream sessions, I want to try looking around for a specific thing that we will be trying to go for much later on, but it's definitely something I want to do in another stream session. For now, this last message, I believe it's telling us to go to the middle of the room and then use strength. So let's say that's about the middle of the room. Really, I thought that was what it was. Okay, if it's not strength, then I think, there it is, you have to use flash in the center of the room. Man, it's actually a good thing I didn't forget flash for... You know, it also means that it was completely pointless to bring Banan with us. Yeah, I knew for one of these I would need strength, but I guess that was for Ruby and Sapphire, not for here in Emerald. It's alright, we managed to get in here, and with about 40 minutes to spare before the end of this session, it's time to fight another legendary Pokemon. The last member of the legendary Titan trio in this generation is Registeel. This thing is a pure steel type, has clear body just like the other members of this trio. Compared to the other Pokemon which specialize in a certain area, Registeel is the balanced version of this trio. No, both of its defensive stats are very balanced while still being very high. And its offensive stats are also, pretty balanced. So, having one Pokemon spell... We managed to freeze it! Taking advantage of this right now. Go Ultra Ball! Oh man, when you manage to land those very rare status conditions, it just makes you feel good. Oh man, I can't believe I actually managed to pull that off. That's so cool. Get it? Alright, so we could actually catch this thing. That would be nice. Man, look at you, Shanty, just being bringing a little bit of Kaya from Genshin into this Pokemon session. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, bet you didn't expect another Genshin Impact reference. Okay, this doesn't seem to be working here, even though it's been frozen for quite a while, I must say. Usually, when a Pokemon gets frozen, it defrosts immediately, but I'm glad that the opposite has happened here. It's still frozen! I've just been really lucky with these freeze turns. Even though I would like it to have a little bit less HP. What do I tell you? I always have good luck catching legendary Pokemon on stream. Now that's what I call cold steel. Man, that catch was a steal, I'll tell you that. Alright, that's enough. Registeel, the iron Pokemon. Its body's harder than any other kind of metal. A body metal is composed of a mysterious substance. Not only is it hard, it shrinks and stretches flexibly. So yeah, Registeel here, the last member of the trio. Wish I had a lot more time to talk about this guy, but that's not happening. And you shall be... Mechadeus. Man, I was not expecting this. You know what, we still have plenty of time. There is something that I've been meaning to do, and I feel like this session would be a good opportunity to do so. Especially given what has happened recently. Oh man, I still can't believe I managed to actually pull that off. That's so brilliant. Alright, so we're gonna go to Mauville City for this, and let us go into a box right quick. Hey Harlequin, I didn't forget you. I just needed to put you away because you weren't good against the ice type. Bold. That is kind of decent. It does improve your physical defense at the cost of lowering your attack. And since you're a steel type, you mainly benefit from that. But yeah, mechanically, Registeel is very similar to Regirock and Regice, except for the fact that it has Metal Claw instead of Rock Throw or Icy Wind. Besides that, pretty much the same strategies apply. This thing is very defensive both ways, so just use whatever Pokemon works for you against this guy. I can't believe I managed to actually pull that off. So there's one last thing that I feel like would be a good thing to do for the stream session. For one, since we've basically got nothing else to do, sorry Harlequin, let's put you in the box for now, and let's bring our egg on board. We got this egg all the way back in our first visit to Lava Ridge Town, but we never did actually hatch it. Kind of awkward, right? do is let's just walk around outside of Route 117, and I'm just gonna go around, maybe pop into the tall grass every once in a while. And we're just going to leave the grass, go back into town, then re-enter this route, and we're just going to see what happens. Between the egg, just getting more steps for it to hatch, and just going into the grass, and we're just gonna see what happens. I mean, I had a pretty lucky stream session so far, so one of the things I'm expecting could happen. I don't know. But yeah, this is pretty much what the rest of this session is going to be here. Probably gonna be at this for, I'd say, another 15 minutes before I call things. Maybe another 20 or so. But yeah, we'll just see what happens. I know something I could have done in between streams is actually taken some extra steps with the egg to try and build things up, because yeah, it's definitely something we could have done so much sooner in this adventure with this frickin' thing. And no, I'm not talking about making omelets, although that would be good right about now. I haven't really made anything with eggs lately, but hey, any opportunity when I can fry up some eggs is a good session, especially when I got some waffles to have them with. Maybe get a bit of syrup or ketchup to go on the side, you know? It's always a good time. I just like cooking, especially when I can make myself something nice and healthy like eggs. You know what, Shanty? Just serve this thing. Sure. I still can't believe I actually managed to catch Registeel while it was frozen. That's probably one of the luckiest things I managed to do in all of my Pokemon sessions, not counting the lottery. So let's kind of go into what I'm trying to do here. So back at the start of the post-game, we saw a news report on back at our house's TV, and our mother asked us if we saw a red or a blue Pokemon. This is kind of what's relating to that. After triggering that event with the TV in your house, there is one of two specific Pokemon that will start roaming around the Hoenn region. Of course, the thing with the TV is much different if you're playing Ruby and Sapphire, where they specifically tell you that there is this colored Pokemon roaming around the region, depending on what version you're playing. But in Emerald, they have you choose which Pokemon you encounter, which I feel like that is very nice. I do like that, how they give you the choice of deciding which Pokemon you get. Kind of like what they do in Crown Tundra, tying back into the stuff with Regieleki and Regidrago. And how you're only allowed to get one of either of them per save file. But it was still fine. Also, two other of the Pokemon introduced in the Crown Tundra, Spectrier and Glasstrier, which you can only get one of per save file, because they're tied into the whole quest of our boy Calyrex, who, despite the goofy appearance, actually turned out to be a very fleshed out character and a very good Pokemon. Yeah, we're just kind of going through here, just seeing if we can trigger this to happen, or maybe something else, depending on how the progress is with the egg, or just, of course, trying to get encounters with Pokemon over and over and over. Something is bound to happen. Like, I know this stream session would... It's kind of interesting because a similar thing was something we could do back in Pokemon Leaf Green, where there was another Pokemon that starts roaming the overworld after you've obtained the Mark of Champion. But for that session, I actually went out of my way to try to find this thing, and I save stated before the encounter with this Pokemon so that I knew I had the opportunity to actually catch it and actually have it on the stream, so I wasn't just spending like the beginning of the stream trying to hunt down this thing. I actually had the encounter with it all set up so I could get it done right at the beginning of the stream, and so that we can move on to actually going after the main legendary of that game, specifically Mewtwo. And yeah, that was pretty cool to do, all things considered. But yeah, this session's interesting because I'm actively trying to encounter this thing the legit way. So basically how this Pokemon acts is that it has a chance of appearing on pretty much any patch of grass or water top, basically anywhere we encounter a Pokemon on the overworld. But it will only roam the routes. It doesn't enter dungeons or any of that. You specifically have to go in the grass or the water on a route to try to encounter this thing. What is nice that can help with this is that if you have repels, you have a good chance of managing to trigger the fight with this thing without triggering a battle with one of the normal wild Pokemon, since repels only affect Pokemon that are lower level than the first Pokemon in your party. So that's a nice way to try to narrow down searching for this thing, but obviously... Oh, hey, Elliot, what's up? It's actually glad I got that Pokénav call, because that reminded me of something that I wanted to do throughout this session. Okay, mainly want to check the match call and see if any of the gym leaders are looking for a rematch. Because that is something I want to show off during these stream sessions, is show off the rematch battles against the gym leaders. Obviously, depending on how things go with our future sessions, we're very likely not to get to see a rematch against every gym leader. But just being able to show off at least one of them is a goal of mine throughout this playthrough. I mean, it's not like Platinum where you're guaranteed to fight like at least 3 of these guys a day, and then they rotate out every day. I actually really like that about Platinum. Platinum, I feel, has like one of the best post games of any Pokemon game. Like, obviously, Emerald has a decent post game. I've already shown quite a bit about the stuff you can do here, and we still have a lot to cover between more Pokemon to catch and also the Battle Frontier battles, as well as what's easily going to be the big fight of this adventure. But yeah, Platinum definitely has a very sizable post-game. And definitely one of the things I really like about the 4th generation. Like, say what you will about the speed of those games, but they pack that game full of content, and it's just really good. I love the 4th gen so much, even more than 3rd gen, even though I really like the speed and the pacing of this game. And also the fact this generation introduced so many great concepts, like natures and abilities. But Gen 4 is the frickin' physical special split, and gave us our first taste of online battles. It's like, come on. So yeah, it's actually very interesting being a fan of the series for so long and getting to experience all these different things, because when you've been with the series long as I have and getting to experience all the games and also being into contact with a lot of the fans' different opinions about the series, it can be exhausting at times, but also exhilarating. Especially when you find those fans who've had similar experiences to you and being able to connect with other players. And there's on a intimate level that you wouldn't get in other video games like, I don't know, Call of Duty. Be like, how many times you can go into a COD lobby and say, oh yeah, I shot a bunch of guys. A C-Dot. That's actually a rare encounter on this route. Ice it! It's interesting I was actually able to encounter a C-Dot there, because, yeah, that's a rare encounter on this route. There is another Pokemon on this route that is very rare. I know I talked about it a few times and how I wish it was a better Pokemon. I wish its typing was different. It's definitely one that I want to use, even if it's not really the best. Doesn't help that it's my second favorite typing, and I ran into two of these in a row. Okay, now the game is taunting me. Between my good luck at catching the legendary Pokemon in this session, and then running into these guys, yeah. Okay, we're probably gonna call things in about 7 minutes, I want to say, because we are kind of coming down to the wire in terms of my usual stream sessions. But it's still great. I was able to accomplish everything that I wanted to do this stream session, and much more. I honestly was not expecting to get all 3 of these guys in a single session. Hell, I didn't even know if I was going to get one of these guys this session. But, you know, just actually managing to catch these Pokemon is just... it was a good feeling, and I was glad I was able to record all this, because, man, was that interesting. See, in terms of other things I've been meaning to do, it's kind of weird considering that I have played like a good chunk of it earlier this year, but I kind of want to get back into Final Fantasy VII. I know I'm going to be streaming the game again next year as I get into the second disc content, and that's all going to be very good. Especially with what's going to be going on later down the line in that game, and oh boy, there's some interesting stuff to do. But yeah, I've just been kind of feeling up for playing Final Fantasy VII just casually for the time being, which also be good for me getting a lot more knowledgeable on what I'm going to be doing in future recording sessions when I get around to playing more Final Fantasy VII on Twitch. I can definitely say that a good chunk of it has been the recent Brain Scratch commentary on the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And, you know, getting to, like, bring up stuff in more detail from the remakes compared to how it is in the original game. And also the fact that I have been revisiting Final Fantasy VII Machina Bridge, and yeah, that show still holds up so well. It's so good. Especially on repeat viewing sessions, when you start to recognize a lot more of the hints that were peppered very early on in the series for stuff that goes on much later on. But yeah, definitely excited to get started with that very soon. Also been meaning to get through some other Final Fantasy games, because I still haven't finished 9 or 12, and I have been meaning to get into Final Fantasy 4, since that is on Steam, and yeah, yeah, that'd be a very fun game to get into, because I haven't played too much of, like, the classic, like, before our PlayStation era Final Fantasy games. So, yeah, it would be interesting to go into such a classic game. As I said before, I didn't really grow up with any Final Fantasy games until I picked up 12 on the PlayStation 2. Before that, my only prior knowledge of Final Fantasy came from parody animations that I saw on Newgrounds, and oh boy, was that a website to have access to when I was younger, because there's some mature content on there, and I definitely stumbled upon some of that, semi-accidentally. I mean, come on, I was like 11 at the time, so we're curious about that kind of thing, you know? Okay, it's very likely that this thing isn't going to be happening this session. We'll give it a few more minutes, and then we're going to call things here. I'm still very proud of this session. We managed to get much more than I was expecting done, and we are going to be pretty much all set for taking on our first Battle Frontier facility in the next session, which will be good. But yeah, another thing I would like to be doing in between sessions is try to grind out my Pokemon some more, because there's definitely going to be some fights in the future that we want to prepare for. What is it, Pablo? That's good to hear, Pablo. But yeah, there's definitely some fights that I want to be prepared for. Well, there's one fight I want to be prepared for, because it's a very tricky one. And we are nowhere near high enough level to deal with it. Just note that it will be done at some point. And also, speaking of things I'll be going on session, we're not done hunting legendary Pokemon. Of course, I'm trying to go after one of them right now, but... Huh? Oh, would you look at that? We actually managed to walk enough for the egg to hatch. So behold, at long last, the Pokemon that hatches from the egg. Why not? This is the pre-evolution of Wobbuffet, but only if your Wobbuffet is holding the Laxant sense that is obtained from Vampire. So let's look at this guy statistically. Statistically, not really the best. It has Shadow Tag, which is a fantastic ability. The stats are pretty garbo, and it has no offensive attacks. Eventually, it will learn Counter and Mirror Coat, and Safeguard and Destiny Bond, which are the moves that you definitely want on it for its eventual Wobbuffet moveset. But actually raising up a Wobbuffet from the Why Not stage can be beneficial. Because if you can see here, Why Not does have access to Charm, which is a good debuffing move for lowering your opponent's attack, and it also has Encore, which locks your opponent into repeating the same move for quite a while, allowing you to exploit your opponent in order to repeat the same action, thus allowing you to take advantage of Counter and Mirror Coat even better than you normally would. Because of this reason, I can definitely recommend raising a Wobbuffet from the Why Not stage via this egg instead of catching a Wobbuffet back in the Safari Zone. But yeah, with that said, that is pretty much where we're going to call things in this stream session. We managed to obtain some really interesting new Pokemon, and managed to get ourselves in a very good position for how we're gonna do things in future sessions. So, next time on Pokemon Emerald, we are gonna take a crack at our first Battle Frontier facility. And don't worry, our team isn't going to have any trouble there whatsoever. You'll understand when we get there. Anyway, have a good night and take care, amigos!